And go. Okay, and then also, because I was, what is it?
I'm very fucking drunk. Hi everyone, this is Ray, or some of you might know me as Tiki with Ray, and today I'm kind of almost in the middle of the country where I'm at Ken's place.
You're in the middle of nowhere, basically.
So I'm not even in the middle of the country, I'm in the middle of nowhere, Indiana.
What was that show? Something Indiana. It was like this weird Twilight Zone sort of thing. Erie, Indiana. Let's consider that. It's South Bend, but I consider it Erie, Indiana, because weird things happen here and nothing happens here.
Well, one thing that definitely happens here is, well, you live here, but this is essentially the headquarters for Exotica Moderne.
This thing, yes,
which is it's like a game changer. It's the only Tiki magazine that's out that I know of.
I believe so. Yes,
and they sell out quickly, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I publish quarterly. They don't last that long. I just don't know how many to print every time.
Yeah, well, more and more and more.
So I need the Karnak thing going, or an 8-ball to tell me how many to print in the future. But it is a good thing.
You're gonna shake the 8-ball to see how many.
Yeah,
50.
50. Yeah.
All right.
It's just gonna pop up and says you're a loser. I don't know.
You're a loser. We're at your home Tiki bar.
This is my home bar.
And what's the name of your bar?
Well, for lack of better or anything, it's the House of Tabu.
It's the House of Tabu.
In the basement.
So essentially, this is the House of Tabu / Exotica Moderne headquarters.
This is it. This is home base.
Yeah, it literally is. And you actually, every one of these magazines that get shipped out, your hand...
My hand has touched it, yes. They come in boxes from the printer, which I print here locally in South Bend, Indiana. So printed in the USA, doesn't sent anywhere. Cost me a little more to do that, but it's for a good reason. But they come here, I pick them up, I shove them in the plastic bags, I shove them in the envelopes, put the stamps on them, and send them out the door.
I'll never forget, Ken put a post up on Facebook. Just kind of like a random post. Ken's like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a Tiki magazine. First of all, what do you think anyone would have an interest in that? And is there anyone out there who'd be willing to contribute? And I remember seeing your post. And immediately like, oh, hell yeah. And I reached out.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
I reached out to you, and I'm like, oh, I completely want to be part of this. And I think your response was like, I was going to ask you anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'd already been watching some of your videos and your blog stuff, so it's like, he seems to be really into writing, and he kind of knows how to put words together and take pictures, and you're doing it consistently. So that's the kind of person I'd like to work with.
Yeah, and then every issue I do a write up, and as I will always do it as long as the magazine is going. I will always give you something, and as far as like the things that I do, you are my top priority.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
because trying to fill a magazine even on a quarterly basis is it's a challenge because everybody who's writing for the magazine is someone, none of them are really professional writers. I mean, they write on a professional level, but this isn't what they do for a living, so it's a passion for them. So to get people who are passionate to constantly contribute, I don't want to burn people out, so it's nice when someone like you and some of the other writers who write for the magazine, it's like, I'm already thinking about next month. Tiki Lindy, who's doing a food feature every issue, she's already ahead on the next issue.
That's usually how I work it. Usually, as soon as the issue that comes out, I'm usually right on working on to the next one. And here's the thing: it's like I blog, and I have all my blog posts that are on the internet, and that's great. But there's something special about having an artifact.
Yeah.
Because this magazine will sit on someone's shelf, and for years potentially. Like I always like
possibly till the end of time, or
till the end of
someone
time
needs
or their house
paper,
burns down.
Yeah, or
they need paper.
They need paper to light their grill. I don't know.
But so before your magazine, there was Tiki Tiki Magazine. It was called Tiki Magazine.
And then Tiki Magazine
More. And there's always times like if I'm at someone's place that'll like, oh, there's a couple issues on the shelf, and I'll always look through them. I just like looking at them and seeing, because it is history. And the thing is, like, these are artifacts, and like these will be around for a long time. How did it start for you getting this going? Was it hard? Was it easy to do issue 1?
No, actually, it's always hard, and I'm not saying hard like extremely difficult, but it's hard getting enough stuff to put a magazine together. But the mechanics of publishing, I mean, that's kind of been part of my background, but we've talked about this before. My background, aside from advertising and graphic design, is
industrial music.
Industrial music. We'll talk about that later. We'll also talk about my appearance on HBO. But my background was in the comic book business, and I jumped into the comic book business at the height of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle mania, when they were a black and white comic.
Oh yeah, which is much different than
very violent, very aggressive, very crude, but very cool.
Yeah.
But all the, there was a big boom in black and white comics, and I just happened to want to start drawing comics at that time.
Yeah.
So I started publishing my own books, dealt with 14 different distributors, 2 in Canada, and I've just always published. And then as the comic book thing waned and I got into industrial music, I was writing for Industrial Nation in Chicago, some reviews here and there. And it was a great magazine, a little more on the punkish side as far as its delivery and design, and I just thought, I can do this.
Yeah.
So then I started Arc magazine, and I was doing my own industrial music magazine back then too. So I'm just a publisher at heart. So, and I already had established the skill set to put a magazine together. It was just gathering material.
And I think this is issue 1.
That's issue 1, and then that same post, when I said I'm thinking about doing a magazine, Thor is right away messaged me. Had never talked to Thor before in my life. He's like, I'll do the cover.
Yeah.
Like, all right, you are cover number 1. So, yep. I thank Tom so much for doing that. And then he showed up at Tonga Hut when we released the magazine and signed copies for people. So
it's actually Thor's. He's
actually there.
He's actually touching down from the.
He's the first man on the Tiki Moon.
Hey gang, we'll get back to the Tiki conversation here in just a second, but I want to let y'all know they have t-shirts for sale. They are screen printed in America. The artist is Tony Canepa, and they're going for $20 a piece, $25 including shipping. If you're interested in buying one, go to my website, tikiwithray.com, and then there's a tab that says buy a t-shirt. Click on there and just follow the prompts. So thank you very much. So this is actually the latest issue that just came out. And this is
8.
Issue 8. Quarterly.
I pretty much hit the mark almost every time. I don't think people believe that can actually be done in the Tiki scene. Getting a
You've been religious about getting out quarterly.
Yeah, well, it's good for the advertisers.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, if someone's going to buy an ad, they have to know when it's coming out. Especially on Tiki and Tiki Farm, check with me every time, because they have new mugs coming out. They were like, well, we want to update our ad. When's it coming out? So, I mean, I definitely try and hit a schedule. I'm a schedule person.
Yeah.
And I also want to mention.
So if you're gonna write for Ken, make sure you get your writing done on time.
Yeah, I'm a strict taskmaster.
And every day you're late, you lose $1. So this is your artwork.
This is my artwork.
And this is reminiscence of the Max's South Seas, right?
Yeah, that's
the wall.
Gecko carved all those Ward Beam tikis, and that is a representation of the wall of Gecko tikis there. I'm focusing on artists and mixologists and writers that are interested in what's happening now. I really haven't gotten a lot of historical pieces. The new issue has a bit on Jeff Chenault's Ohio Tiki book.
Yeah.
But that's really more about Jeff and why he chose to write that book. I get asked this a lot, and I'm going to say it here. I get asked a lot about subscriptions. There's a stigma attached to the previous magazine, which actually, Tiki Magazine and More, I started House of Tabu and was doing glassware and T-shirts and had a mug going, and I thought I should support that magazine and buy an ad. And then I sent him my money.
Yeah.
And then they announced their hiatus and took off with my money. So that was another little sort of impetus to say, maybe I should be doing this.
Well, I'll be honest with you, like kind of how I do things with myself as far as like I don't make money from my blog. I don't make money from my YouTube show. I do them because I love to do it, but if I am going to make any money, it's through shirts or I do my live show and I pass a hat around. And my feeling is that if you're going to throw any cash my way, it's because I'm giving you something. Right. Here you go. Here's the shirt. It's in your hand. Where it's like, hey, I'm entertaining you. I'm putting on a show.
Yeah, that's my philosophy too. It's like you gave me money, I give you something in return.
And I don't want to be, and I feel exactly the same way you do, where I don't want someone to give me money, and then for some reason, I'm not able to reciprocate and give back what I was supposed to give you.
Yeah. So like this issue, I decided to call it a pre-sale about a month in advance. I'm like, okay, you can start ordering now. Yeah. And I just wanted to see how much that would affect my print run. Yeah. It went up just a little bit, so it's like, okay, well, it went up a little bit. It was kind of that was really more of a gauge for me. Yeah. It's not that I wanted to take your money up front and whatever. It was more of like, I hear from people that they miss getting issues or things like that. So I was like, well, if I put the word out early, more people hopefully will see it. I won't run into those issues where people are like, I missed getting your magazine. Do you have any more? No, I don't. So, I mean, that's really why I did a pre-sale on the magazine, it's kind of unusual for me. I might continue to do that just so I make sure people who want it are getting it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So there's no subscription for the magazine, but if there is a pre-sale, jump on that.
Right.
And show Ken that, like, hey, there is an interest, and that way you can gauge and see how many you need to do a run for.
And to get back to what you were saying about, making money on this, a lot of, I don't know if people know, I sort of always positioned, when I was publishing my comic books and when I was publishing the industrial magazine, I seem to have a good knack of giving people the impression I'm some sort of major corporation. No. And I'm not.
No, it's your house.
It's my house.
We're literally in your house.
Yeah, and I keep a full-time job, and so this is just extracurricular activity that I just want to do.
Well, I hope you keep on doing it a long time.
Thank you. Yeah. And then,
because I really think that your magazine is something special. Well, Ken, thanks for inviting me to
we're going to talk some more because, besides the magazine, we have to talk about monkeys.
Oh, let's talk about monkeys.
So, many people know that I've worked with John Mulder a lot at Ecom Bookem. Yeah. I did all my Tut and my Nefertiti mugs. But now I've decided, with John's encouragement, I've decided to do this myself. So this is, some people may know, aside from House of Tabu, I have my own secret society called the Order of the Golden Fez.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do. So that's been going on. There's a Facebook group. We actually have fezzes made by Fezzorama. They do a great job making them. Oh, yeah. Buttons, pins, degrees. So I've decided to do, and the official mascot is a smoking baboon. So I sculpted this myself. This is the.
Did you really?
Yeah, this is the actual sculpt. I did this myself. Yeah, it's Roma plasticina. It's a type of sculpting clay.
Oh my God.
And then I made the molds. And Ray saw earlier the castings that I've made. They're going to the kiln, and I'll be releasing these probably in like editions of 12 at a time because, again, it's just me and I keep a full-time job.
You're making these yourself?
Making these myself. Making these myself, and again, just like the magazine, hand glazing myself, firing, putting in a box, shipping to you. But yeah, it's another part of what I'm doing with this. I'm having a blast.